Well guys, I'm back here on the 410 stock. I kind of knocked the tops off of these pins with the Dremel, but to finish them off, it's all handwork. So, you can kind of see they're just a little proud yet. Make sure your sandpaper is tight around your block. And I'm using a 220 grit. I'm not using anything real heavy. I could still feel that being just a skosh proud, and it kind of, got around the wood a little bit. So I'm going to take and use some 320 to finish that off. Start working on the next one here. Now there's a lot of ways you can do to rough these out. Try to get a little closer there. But this is the way that I found works really well. Just some 220 grit. I could use a coarser paper, but I don't want to minimize the scuffs in the actual stock, And I'll finish it off with some 320. And then we should be ready to apply a little bit of stain to it. The other side's got to be done, so I'll get that done. I'll be back in a couple minutes. Alright, got that pretty smoothed out. I kind of smoothed out over that crack a little bit too. Hard to see now, right here. So now that's all with the 220. And I'll go over the whole thing with 220, but I want to really get this first. For the curved areas, I have a piece of half round, and we'll just kind of take that You know, most stocks have a lot of curves in them, and some people think it's really hard to tell where you're sanding, and I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but you'll see that it's actually almost getting polished around that pin. So this should be a really good repair. And I could certainly step down to another, 400 or 600 grit if I wanted to. But really with woodworking, you don't need to, it's not like working with metal where you do have to. I'm not going for a polish on it. This is really smooth over this pin right now. And then the curved part makes it a little easier to go down here through the wrist of the stock. And really smooth out over that crack really nice. And hopefully that crack won't be so noticeable. I mean, you can still see it, but I think once there's a finish on the whole thing, I think it'll almost disappear. So I'm going to continue on, and when I'm ready to stain these pins, I'll show you how I'm going to do that and what I'm going to use to do it. So I'll be back in a little bit. Well, I pretty much got it all sanded with the 220, and the pins look great. They came out perfect, exactly how I wanted. Thought I'd show you a little trick. This is the piece of half round with my 320 on it. And when you're doing a curved area like this, you kind of want to keep changing your angle. So instead of just filing sanding flat, kind of curve it a little. And when I'm going down this way, I'm kind of going around the curve. And I always try to sand with the grain. And the black just makes it a little easier to sand. You can also just hand sand too. That'll usually keep you from getting any hard edges in there. And I usually save that for the very end. So when I'm doing all my rough sanding, I'm always using a block of some sort. So that's your little helpful hint. Keep changing your angle, and you get her nice and smooth and not have any flat spots or anything in there. So there you go. I'm going to get the rest of this sanded with the 320, and we'll go on to finish. So we'll be back in a little bit. Alright guys and gals, we're pretty well sanded. There's the pins. They are so flush that it makes me feel bad. They look good. What I'm going to use to try to match them to the stock is going to be just a medium brown leather dye. My stain is really dark, so I didn't want to use that. This will probably be a little dark too at first. Just applying it with a Q-tip. Chuck my Q-tip. Put the lid back on my dye before I spill it. So that's what it looks like now. I'll give that a little while to dry. Being an alcohol-based dye, it'll dry pretty quick. And then I'm just going to hit it again with the 320, and that should lighten it up a little bit. I'll be back in a couple minutes. Well, you can still see them. Kinda. Got one right here, one right here, and one up here. And the crack is almost, it's right here, but it's blended in, so it almost looks like it's just part of the grain. So I'm going to let this sit overnight, and then I'm going to get some tongue oil and go over it with that. And it'll probably take a while. I usually let my tongue oil dry for half a day anyway, and apply it, give it a really light sanding with some 400 grit and give it another coat. And I'll probably put 3 or 4 coats on here. And kind of as a rule, when you give it a sanding, you sand off almost half of it, half of the previous coat. So it's time consuming, but well, let's hope the results are well worth it. So I will get with you tomorrow, and we'll get some finish put on this bad boy. I'll prep it, give it a wipe down with some acetone or rubbing alcohol or something. There's still a few little dings in the stock. There's a ding right here, and some other marks from hand oils and stuff like that. That all just adds a little character to it. So it is not, this gun was manufactured in the very, very early 1900s. So I'm just going to try to keep it as authentic as I can. And hopefully I'll find a new stock that is much cleaner, but in the meantime I'll have this to do some squirrel hunting. So we'll catch you next time around. And that's where I'm going to leave it off for today. So, stay safe, God bless, and y'all have a great day.